Welcome back, Luxeley on Sindoran Pain, a Revenant, not of the Leonardo DiCaprio kind. So, I'm going to forget about Revenants, going to forget about Guild Wars 2, going to forget about everything except Game of Thrones, because these trees remind me of Game of Thrones. Then again, everything reminds me of Game of Thrones as a new season approaches, and we're within striking distance of Season 6. You're looking at probably 6 weeks until the start of Game of Thrones. Leave a like. Let me know in the comments if you are a Game of Thrones fan. Let me know who your favorite character is, or who your new favorite character is, because your old favorite character is probably dead, as mine is, as pretty much all of mine are. So leave it in the comments. And by the way, I have to sell myself, because part of YouTube is selling yourself. So pardon the sales pitch, but I'm not going to ask for money. I'm not going to ask for a credit card number or anything like that. I just want to make a point, and it's a very, very valid point. I'm a small YouTuber compared to a lot of the big fish out there. And yet, one of the things, or one of the few advantages that I have, actually the only advantage I have over a big YouTuber, is that I can still reply to comments. I can still respond to your comments. And I don't know if you've noticed this, because some people might just watch, or they watch right when something's uploaded and it doesn't have a lot of views or a lot of comments right away. But I do respond to all of the comments. And I've been doing this since day one, and I will do this for as long as I most possibly can do it. Because that is the one and only advantage that I have over a bigger YouTuber. And I strongly feel and strongly believe that if you guys can take the time out to watch one of my videos and leave a comment, I could take the time out to respond in kind. That's how I feel. That's what I believe. And that's what I'll continue to do as long as I can most possibly do it. Hopefully, and I say this kind of facetiously, but also realistically, hopefully, one day I won't be able to respond, because I'll get inundated with comments. And then I'll figure something out, because I do have a strong sense of loyalty to people who are loyal viewers of mine, and I recognize the names, and I will find a way to still respond to those people that I know have proven their loyalty over time, if I ever get to that point. Hopefully I will. I don't know. We never know what's in the cards. All I know is that I don't know if this is a winery or a place for beer. Because I know they talk about trying a brew, but it looks like a winery to me. So leave it in the comments if you could explain to me if this is a winery or a brew factory. I know it's a monastery, but it doesn't look like a monastery, really. It just looks like a winery. Now, I know what a winery looks like. I live on Long Island, if anybody doesn't already know that. Long Island, New York, where Long Islanders say Long Island. That's the accent, which occasionally it pops out on me, but for the most part I have it subdued. But there's a lot of wineries, and that looks like a winery. Those are grapes. That is a winery. No doubt in my mind, that is a winery. But why is it a monastery? Maybe monasteries make wine as well as beer. I know they don't have sex, pretty much. So, we know that there's no hard liquor involved. Probably just wine and beer, so that makes sense. So, oh, more bugs. Those are pretty big bugs, I gotta say. I wonder if like a nuclear weapon dropped like many years ago and it like deformed all these worms, because they're pretty huge. I'm really digging the Revenant, I have to say. I wish I did this series on a different tune or a different profession, just simply because I really want to get this to max level. And there's a lot of editing involved, there's a lot of recording involved, but I really want to see this through to max level. And I think I'm already recorded up to level 27 right now, so I'm pretty much getting closer and closer. But with all the editing involved and recording and rendering, it's making the process to level the Revenant a lot slower than I'd like it to be, but that's okay. I mean, I could still PvP on my Revenant without any problem. I think even at lower levels you get access to elite specs if you do have Heart of Thorns. I know at level 80 you do. So I'm pretty sure you do. I mean, very confident that you do. So we just hit another level, so we only have 71 levels to go. We're almost there. A lot of walking. And I understand the reasoning behind not having mounts in the game. I do understand that. But I think I agree that there should not be flying mounts. Matter of fact, if I could go back in time, you know, with Doc Brown, I mean, I'd go back in time to better places and better things. But if I only had one choice, and Doc Brown says, we're going to spin you back, you know, 10 years ago to Blizzard, and I would tell Blizzard, do not have flying mounts in the game. Here's why. And they'd say, yeah, that makes sense. And they wouldn't do it because I think they strongly regret putting flying mounts in World of Warcraft because it minimizes the world, which is a good thing in reality, in your reality, where you go to school, where you go to work. Having a smaller world means more familiar faces, more familiar people. That's a good thing. In an MMO, it's you want things to be grandiose. You want things to be bigger than you. You want them to be breathtaking and awe-inspiring, and flying mounts takes away a lot of that. Plus, flying mounts does add and attribute to lag to some extent. More so in populated areas than, say, out here in Queensdale, which right now isn't populated. Even when it's most populated, you can't consider it populated. That's Luxley's theory on population. But I do think ground mounts are something that makes sense for ArenaNet, something that makes sense for Guild Wars 2. And let me explain why. Guild Wars 2 is going to do things that are feasible and profitable for themselves. And one way that they can increase their profits would be by adding ground mounts into the game. Because people will buy mounts at the gem store, people will play the game more to grind out gems to be able to buy mounts at the gem store. And I think that's a good thing. Plus, people will go out in the world and they will do things that will have mount drops. And it would give them another reason to go out there. Now, the downside of mounts is the ego involved. I mean, you have people in World of Warcraft that have a mount that is status driven, a status symbol, so to speak. And they'll just sit on that mount like they killed somebody on mythic level and heroic level and got this rare drop mount, and they'll sit on the mount in the middle of a big city and just block a mailbox and have everybody just bow and curtsy to how wonderful they are because they have this mount. Meanwhile, they're off watching something on Netflix. They're not even paying attention. And it's that kind of ego that does help erode the community of MMOs. That kind of ego. All right. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Hunter. They're cheering me along. Word of your exploits in Queensdale have reached... Oh, I have not finished reading yet. Okay, whatever. Wasn't that important. But I was talking about mounts. I was talking about how there's a certain egoism that's involved with collecting mounts, a certain egoism that can be very toxic and corrosive in the community. And I do believe that that's the main reason why...
This is new.
Arena... No, it's not. I've been to this place like 10 times already. But whatever, if you want to say it's new, it's new. But there's just something with ArenaNet that I do understand that they can't... They don't want to have that erosive community. They don't want to have that toxic, ego-laden community. I get that 100%. But by the same token, they're in this to make money. And I do think that mounts would be a way to get people more immersed in the game for drops in the world, like I said before, as well as buying them in a gem store. Because what is going to make sense for ArenaNet is something that's feasible. And what I mean by feasible is something that's not going to take a lot of time and effort to produce, because that translates into overhead, that translates into money, and something that's profitable. Let's face it, they're in this to make a profit, and I think mounts will be a good addition. What are your thoughts about adding mounts into the game? And you could even break it down into flying mounts and ground mounts. I'm for ground mounts. I am not for flying mounts. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Like I said before, I do respond to your comments. And That is a promise, provided you will speak intelligently and treat me with respect and treat other people in the comment section with respect. That's what Rodney Dangerfield says. For those of you who don't know who Rodney Dangerfield is, you can Google him. It's Rodney Dangerfield. Pretty easy to spell. You'll find out. He used to always cry about not having any respect. Meanwhile, he kind of took that act to the bank for like 40 or 50 years, maybe even 60 years of being on stage as a comic. Matter of fact, if Rodney Dangerfield was a comic in today's world, I don't even think he'd be... I think he'd be arrested, because he's not he was never a politically correct kind of guy. And that's the kind of thing that stand-ups have to adhere to nowadays. So I don't know if Rodney Dangerfield would ever have a career at this point. And there's a lot of comics that were like that, especially in the late 70s, throughout the 80s, even the early 90s, that were not politically correct and certainly would not succeed in today's comedic environment. No way. Invulnerable, invulnerable. Come on, follow me. Come on. Some hot mermaids over here that want to speak to you. Not sure if you're interested, but just in case, we'll just throw you in this little crab cage. I had a little bit of a problem with my Revenant because I accidentally deleted my helm, but I was able to get a new one somewhere. I don't remember where I got it, but I was able to get one. Come on, follow me, guys. Guess what? Gonna bring you to Red Lobster. This one? Oh, that's an armored fish. That one, I thought that was a crab. How many people really embrace the underwater combat in this game? While it's visually stunning, unquestionably the best there is in any MMO, unquestionably the best, I just am not a fan of it. I appreciate it in its beauty in every single way, its mechanics, etc., but I just don't like the idea of having things attack you from above, below, left, right, front, and back from 6 different directions. That's the problem that I have with it, because if you accidentally use an AoE, you're going to bring the whole zone down on you. Or even occasionally by accident, you're going to bring other NPCs down on you, other mobs down on you, and that I have a problem with. But as far as the aesthetics, as far as the effort that they put forth, it's amazing. And I have to say, the movie Aquaman, I'm not sure how far off it is. It might be a year off, it might be 2 years off, which essentially is going to star Jason Momoa, I believe his name is, who was in Game of Thrones. See how I work that segue back towards Game of Thrones, and that kind of funny. But he's playing Aquaman, and I'm not sure, 2017 or 18 is when it's slated, but there's most definitely gonna be a lot of underwater stuff associated with Aquaman. There's no doubt in my mind about that. And there will probably be a video game, especially if the game is successful, at which point, guess what? Who has the best underwater combat in the entire gaming industry? It is ArenaNet. And I'm wondering if there's going to be like a new appreciation for underwater combat in Guild Wars 2 when Aquaman comes out, provided Aquaman is successful, which I don't see a reason why it's not going to be successful. Marvel has a very, very straightforward and consistent formula of success. I'd say about 4 out of 5 of the movies they do are very, very successful. So it's got a good shot at being successful. So this is Luxeley. I'm about to wind things up as I just reached level 10, which is a milestone. So congratulate me in the comments. Let me know your thoughts, how I can improve things you might want me to discuss about Guild Wars 2. Certainly, you could leave your questions, and I will respond in the next video. Actually, I have a good question for you guys. I wish I asked this sooner in the video. Maybe I'll ask it again in the next video. Name one thing in Guild Wars 2, one major feature that you absolutely could not do without. Name one feature in Guild Wars 2 that you can absolutely not do without. In other words, if it was accidentally deleted or a virus struck this one particular feature, what would it be? I mean, for me, I would say two things, and it's a tie. One, I think the spell animations are just absolutely wondrous and beautiful for every single class. It's poetry in motion, it's artistic, it's true elegance. I adore it. The other thing is PvP. If there was no structured PvP, I'd play the game, but it would have a finite end. Have a great one.